It's if you understand how Chinese people think and you can have a better attitude and mindset, you'll be able to communicate better. That's the goal. All right. So chapter 1, where you enter, is all about Guanxi. All right. So this is chapter 1. And I'm not going to ask this question, but normally at a live event, I would ask, what is your definition of Guanxi? And instead of asking this time, I'm just going to go ahead and give the definition, and then we're going to pick that definition apart. We're going to try to figure out the nuances of the real substance and meaning behind this word instead of just thinking about it, how does Guanxi translate into English? All right, so for me, it's a practical definition. Guanxi is the relationship between two people that represents their expectations of each other in terms of favoritism, referrals for connections, and the sharing of inside information. So when Chinese people have good, quote unquote, guanxi with somebody else, they're expecting favoritism. They're expecting referrals for connections. They're expecting inside information. All right. So when you just look at the translation of any English to Chinese, Chinese to English translation, you don't get that. You just get words, but it doesn't reflect how people feel and what they expect. All right. So when we break this down, again, this is where we get into participation. Favoritism. 中文怎么讲? Favoritism. I think Dennis has heard the answer. Do you remember, Dennis? Say it again. 最好的. 最好的 is probably closer to the best. 最好的. Right? Because 最 is the most. 好的 is good. So the most good would be the best. Now, but 最喜欢的. So favoritism would be 你会给我最好的. 最好的条件. 最好的价格. Right? You will give me the best pricing, the best quality, the best service, the best support. Favoritism would be translated into 偏心, right? I would choose you over somebody else. I would give you more favorable treatment over somebody else. 我有一点偏心. Okay. This can also be used to, do you have you have multiple children, do you have a favorite child? That would be 偏心, that would be favoritism. Now, again, more practically, favoritism basically means 好处, right? If we have close guanxi relationships, 我会给你更多的好处. I will give you more benefits. I will give you an advantage. I will give you inside information. I will refer you to a higher level person to support what you're trying to do. So favoritism is all about 好处. Now, referrals. Juliet, do you know the Chinese word for referral? "推荐, yeah, 推荐. That's good. That's actually correct. Dennis, do you remember? Yeah. All right. So 推荐 is good. 推荐 is more like recommend than it is to refer, but it's close enough. 我们说介绍. Okay. But 介绍. Yeah, 介绍. But the term that we wanted to say is referrals for connections. So if you say 介绍 is referrals, what would be that entire three-letter phrase, referrals for connections in Chinese? Yes. Exactly. 介绍关系. Okay, and I don't know if you remember the event. A better way to say 介绍关系 is just 拉关系. Right? So again, I'm gonna emphasize this over and over. Sometimes just understanding how words translate isn't the most effective way to communicate. And this is what we're trying to demonstrate with multiple ways to say kind of what we're trying to say here. All right. And then inside information is 内部消息. Okay. 内部消息. Now, if somebody in China wants inside information, they will never ask you for 内部消息. They'll just ask you what they want to know, and it's 内部消息 that it's quote unquote inside information is implied. All right. And if you want to give somebody inside information, you don't want to say, 我要给你内部消息. You just give them the information, and it's kind of implied that I'm giving you this level of information because of our Guanxi. All right. So this is giving you a little bit more substance and nuance to your interactions with Chinese people based on whether you speak it fluently or not. You could know all the translation. You could be a Chinese English translation dictionary, but you still wouldn't be able to communicate effectively if you didn't understand the nuance of how these things work. Because in China, it's basically when they ask you for inside information, they'll just say, 要怎么做? 怎么做? How do we do it? Okay. That's basically saying, can you give me inside information? But they don't use those literal words. They just say, well, 怎么做? How do we move forward? Right. So it's implied. Everything in China, most things in China are implied, which means it doesn't need a literal translation. You have to learn how to understand how Chinese people express themselves to really understand what they want and how to get what you want in return. Now, the most important aspect of this practical definition is Guanxi will represent their expectations, or it will represent the mutual expectations. Okay. So with a 外人, so for example, 老外, or whatever they call, like Japanese people call foreigners 外人, right? Whatever it is you call these quote unquote foreigners, if you're a foreigner, they have no expectation of you to understand their culture. They actually expect you don't understand their culture. They expect you to be ignorant or whatever, right? So, but as the Guanxi deepens, so does their level of expectation. And that is the key word to understand when understanding what is Guanxi. All right. And again, in Chinese, expectation is 期望 or 期盼, or you can reverse it, 盼望. All right. So there are, again, illustrating there are multiple ways, and there are more than this. I'm just giving you examples. Multiple ways to translate things that you see.